Every single touch or communication that you make to your customers is either adding to the relationship or subtracting from it. So today we are going to be talking about how to make sure you're adding as much as you possibly can to each and every relationship and not just going through the motions. Now, this was actually something that I went through and talked about with my team, Onyx Homes, which by the way is crushing this year so far. We have already almost closed and pending as much as we did all of last year. We just barely hit the halfway mark. So let me go ahead and dive in, and I'm gonna share my screen at the exact same slideshow we went over at our team meeting. So like I said, every touch adds or subtracts. So when you are making contact to one of your customers, why are you calling in the first place? I say calling, but it could be a text, it could be an email, whatever touch point you have. And if it's for just following up, is it just to see if they're ready to buy or sell yet? I'll have to put this in the screen recording. I have text messages from a brokerage trying to recruit us to the brokerage, and I must have opted into something 3 years ago, and they literally have just been texting me over and over and over. Are you ready to join? Do you want to know more? Are you ready to join? Are you ready to join? And that sounds ridiculous, but so many real estate agents will just sit up and text a template to their customers every single Thursday and say, hey, I'm setting up my tours for the weekend. Do you want to see anything? And if that's the only contact you're making, I promise you're subtracting from the relationship. It could be you're calling them just because they showed up on your follow-up. Like for our team, we have a very clear workflow for our agents so they know who they're supposed to call and when. But if you're just calling them because they show up, like yes, you're supposed to do that, but calling with intention. If you're calling for our team for points, which is one of our standards that we have with our team, that's a terrible reason. Or if you're just calling because you're supposed to. All of these things, if this is the reason why you're reaching out, it is subtracting from the relationships. I promise you're subtracting, and it's going to cost you money. So the goal of following up, the goal is to add as much value as possible so that they feel silly or stupid not hiring you. That's the whole point. You want to make yourself the absolute obvious choice for your customers to hire you when they are ready to go. And you want them to want to work with you. I've heard one thing that it drives me insane in this business is agents are like, oh, I only want to work with people that want to work with me. And then they add no value to the relationship. They do nothing to stand out. They do nothing to lead generate. And then they feel like, oh, I only want to work with people that want to work with me. It's like, you have to earn that. That's this point here is you have to earn that. And it takes a ton of work. I can tell you from my personal experience is I make a lot of content like this to help real estate agents like you grow your business. I also make a lot of content for customers, buyers and sellers, to help educate them, to help them make the best possible decision. And I will tell you, the people that watch hours and hours and hours of content, and they're like, hey, you know what? This Christian guy actually knows what he's talking about. I'm gonna call him up. They call up and they have watched hours and hours and hours and hours of content that I have spent years making. And they're calling me and saying, hey, do you have a spot on your roster to work with me? Like, are you able to help me buy a $4 million house? It's like, yes, I think I can make time in my schedule for that. So once it's earned, but it takes a lot of work to do that. So, like I just said, unless they want to work directly with you, so those inbound calls that are saying, Christian, can I work with you and your team, please? Those people, they convert at a really high level. Like we convert 25, 30% of those leads that come in. They're far and few between because it's really, really hard to earn. And if they do not know who you are, they absolutely do not care about you. So we want to make sure that we're getting there. So we want to make them want to work with you. And this is how, well, I just said this. This is why leads that come in from content convert at such a high level. Referrals would be another example of this as well too, is they want to know that you're the expert. And if you're a referral, the person referring them felt like you were an expert or whatever reason. So you already have that, but with content, it's a really big one. This isn't so much saying make content, but it's make yourself valuable. So let's get into it. So give purpose to your follow-up. So you want every single touch point to be adding to the relationship, not taking it away. So what are the things that actually add value? Well, speed to action is a huge one. So give them exactly what they want when they want it. Think about Uber, think about DoorDash. If I was just about to order dinner on my phone, it's like, it's gonna take an hour to get here, never mind. Like that was too long. Think Amazon. If it's not showing up in 48 hours to your door, even if it takes 2 days nowadays, it's like, oh my gosh, why is it gonna take so long? I want it tonight, right? Like this immediate gratification is what we're all in. For example, I shared this exact same example with my team, is I have a German Shepherd, Dexter. I'll have to put a picture of him up on here. And he's a big, giant, loving German Shepherd. And we have sliding glass doors in our bedroom. And we had them open because it was hot. And he heard a coyote in the middle of the night. And I didn't realize it. But he bolts and just tears a huge hole through the screen door. So the next morning, I'm like, okay, we got to get this fixed right away. So I Google screen repair, best screen repair near me. And 3 or 4 different companies pop up. I picked the one with the best reviews, the most and the best reviews. So that's who I picked. And then I go to their website and it says call or request a quote. What do you think anybody's going to do? Nobody wants to call and talk to a human. So I request a quote. And what happened? It was like, we will call you at some point. And I'm like, okay, when? And I sat there for about a minute and I was like, okay, I'm just going to go to work. They'll call me eventually. And later that day, I'm like, well, shoot, I really need to get this screen repaired. So I go back to the website and I went back to their website, which they're very lucky that I did. And I called the phone number. And the first question they asked me was, hey, well, did you submit a request? And I said, yes. And they said, well, did we already call you? I'm like, how the hell would I know? And I was like, I have 100 missed calls on my phone. I don't know if you called me. You should know if you called me. And the point is, they are so lucky that they got that our business, because they had 0 speed to action. I could have gone to any other screen repair company, not even knowing who I actually called, because I had no idea who they called. They didn't add any value other than they had the reviews, right? So speed to action is incredibly important. So if somebody's texting you, somebody's calling you, if somebody opts into your website, speed to action, minutes, like a minute, it's seconds almost. Number 2 is transparency. If you're telling people it's the best time to do anything, you are just spewing bullshit. Do not tell that. Give real advice. Give real, transparent advice. I just saw a Slack message from one of our agents that said, hey, this particular city's market is going like this, and other ones are actually going up. So if you're talking to a consumer and you're like, oh yeah, it's a fantastic time to buy in here, and you're telling them to pay a premium on a house and the market in that particular city is tanking, you're, 1, not ethical, 2, like, you're a terrible realtor. But number 3 is, like, if you just told them what is actually going on, you would build a hell of a lot more trust, more referrals, more everything. So being transparent as far as what actually makes sense or what's actually going on is going to help you build trust on every single touch point. Number 3 is relevancy. Is how can you bring something of relevance to their search or their sale or whatever it might be. Let me give an example. I always like to exaggerate to drive a point home. So if I was dealing with a home buyer that was looking for a $500,000 house, right? And I was like, oh, you know what? I actually just helped somebody that was selling their $3 million house, and this is what happened. That's not relevant at all. So we were talking about $500,000 buyer and then a 6 times higher price point, and they're selling. It's like, that's not connected, right? Or I hear this a lot is like, you'll talk to a buyer who is talking about buying a house, and the agent will be like, oh, you know what? That reminds me of that one time that I had my screen repaired. And it's like, what are you talking about? Right? So you want to make sure that when you are giving advice or telling stories, especially like I gave the screen repair story, because it's relevant to speed to action. It's relevant to sales and conversion, which is all of what we're talking about right now. So you want to make sure whatever you're sharing is actually relevant to what the consumer is going through. Number 4, education. We do this through a library of resources. This particular video is a library resource for our agents on our team, Onyx Homes, to sell more houses. I talked about this in a team meeting, and we had 60, maybe 50, 60 agents that were in the team meeting. Probably half were paying attention. But this video is going to sit online, and hundreds of people, hopefully thousands of people, will see it. And the agents on my team can go back to this. Because I had 5 agents come up to me afterwards, so if there was 50 people there, 25 were actually probably paying attention. 5 of them, so 5 out of 25, came up to me and said, hey, you know what? Today was a really good team meeting. I appreciated this message, right? So this is why I'm making content about it, because it was a good message. It was well received, so I'm making content so that you can hopefully benefit and take something away from this as well too. So your education is educating somebody on whatever it is. We do this through a lot of different mediums. A newsletter is one. We do a monthly market update, and every single other week. So there's 12 months in a year, so 12 monthly market updates. And there's 40 other value pieces of content that we make just by doing a weekly piece of content. That's one. I make 7 pieces of long form content like this every single week, and tens and tens and tens every single week of short form. All of it is to add value as far as educate. Most of it rather is education, right? So this is adding to our library of resources. The fifth thing, now let me say this as well too, is I've got, I think 5 bullet points on here, is you don't have to do all of these. You on every touch point, you don't need to speed to action, you don't need to be transparent, you don't need to be relevant, you don't need to educate, and you don't need to make a game plan. It's just on every touch point you make, you want to make sure that you're doing something of this. Now there's more ways to add value than just the 5 bullet points that would fit on the sheet, but you want to make sure that when you are following up, you are not just following up, you are adding value, right? Okay, so game plan. I don't know why most people don't do this, but every single person you talk to, right? That person who's buying next year, well, for me right now, looking at the calendar, next year's in 5 months. So if I'm talking to somebody, they say I'm not buying for next year, like perfect, let's put a plan together so that we know from now till you're moved into your house, what is the relationship gonna look like? How often do we communicate? What is gonna happen? I wanna set the clear expectations. And then at the end of that call, if I say, hey, if I don't hear from you in a month, I'll give you a call, sound good? And they say, sure. Then we're executing the game plan from there on out. Let me flip on the other side. Let's say somebody said, oh, you know, Christian, we're gonna die in this house. Perfect. I jokingly say like, cool, when do you think that's gonna be? So that I can put a game plan in place. But even for that person who's gonna die in the house, let's say they're an older couple or something, it's like, okay, cool, well, let's do this. I'm gonna give you a monthly market update so you know what's going on in the market. I'm gonna call you. Well, the first thing we should do is let's make sure your property title is titled correctly, make sure it's in a trust, help out with stuff like that. And then I'll call you every 6 months to give you an update of what's going on in your market value of your home. And I'm gonna ask for referrals every single time I call you, right? Like I'm gonna let you know what's going on in the market, whatever. And if they want that, then that's fantastic. And then 10 years from now, when they do decide to downsize or whatever it might be, you will be the obvious choice, right? I give 2 totally different examples to try to drive that point home, but you should do this with every single person in your database, is to have a game plan. The other thing that happens is if you are setting crystal clear next steps, your follow-up's so easy. You're gonna follow up and say, instead of following up, you're gonna say, hey John, it's Christian, how's it going? Last time we talked, you were in this situation, just calling to see if anything's changed. No, nothing's changed, cool. Here's what's going on in the market. If I don't hear, like, is a plan still changed? No, we're still a year out. It's like, cool, I'll call. If I don't hear from you in the next month or 2, I'll give you a call. Otherwise, I'll keep sending you the monthly market updates. Sound good? If you need anything in the meantime, let me know. So the expectation is I'm gonna call in a month or 2, I'm gonna keep sending the monthly market updates, and I'm gonna do exactly that. So one of the easiest ways to go from a good relationship and ruin it, and this happens very fast, is to overpromise and underdeliver, meaning you say you're gonna do something and then don't, right? This could happen as easy as, hey, I'll call you when I get back to the office, right? Maybe you get a phone call and somebody comes in and they're like, hey, you know what, Christian, I need something. You're like, I'm out with touring properties, or I'm out at a listing presentation right now. Let me call you when I get back to my office. And then I just never call them again. Agents that don't use a CRM, you don't even know how often you do this. Number 2 is I'll update your home search, and then you don't do it, and then you continuously send them the properties that they do not like. If somebody said, hey, I wanted to see, we started our home search looking at all of Orange County, and then we narrow it down over time to just South Orange County, 2 stories with a pool, and then you always send them all of North Orange County, they automatically, you're discrediting yourself every single time the auto email goes out, every single time you follow up with that wrong house. I'm different from other agents and then do exactly the same things, right? Do exactly the same thing of all other agents. How we do business on our team, Onyx Homes, we don't do that, but most agents are literally opening up the door and making too much money, right? I'll send you off markets is a huge overpromise and then never deliver it. Most agents never deliver off markets, right? And it's not coming soons aren't off markets, right? That's just total nonsense. You want to send real valuable information that other agents have no access to. Everybody has access to coming soons. So if you say, I'm going to send you off markets, you had better deliver off markets, and you better tell them the cadence that they're going to receive off markets and how many, right? Another huge missed thing is expectations. If I say, hey, I'm going to send you off markets, and the consumer, what are they going to think? They could think you're going to send me 10 off markets every single day and I'm going to find my house in a week. Or somebody else might think like, oh, cool, I might get an off market once in a while, right? So if you don't do exactly what they expect, you did it wrong. That's why you have to set expectations. Say, hey, I send all of my exclusive clients off market properties every single week. I send them out on Thursdays, right after our team meeting, which is usually when I find out about the most of them. So now I'm setting the expectation that I am going to send my clients off markets every Thursday if I have them, right? So put simply, you don't do what you say you're going to do. So I use this for our team, and I'm just sharing this with you because this is part of our library of resources. So we have our newsletter, which is our blog. So I write an email every single week that we send out. So I make one valuable piece of content for our entire database, this consumer facing, every single week. And that is a blog. So for example, the most recent one, at least on the screenshot, is now a good time to buy or sell. So I wrote out right now the pros and cons of buying or selling right now. And the one before that was the July 2025 housing market update, so that our entire database knows what's going on in Orange County. You can kind of see on the sidebar over here, there's probably 200 of these because we've done it every single week for a very long time. In the middle here, Instagram and TikTok, we just started these two channels in the last 90 days. This is driving tons and tons of value to our we're building top of funnel awareness and generating leads. Look at this. This is the Instagram. This has 480,000 views. We're 90 days into this, posting 3 to 4 times a day. And this is already generating leads. This crushes. But our agents can actually send their customers to say, hey, by the way, go follow us on Instagram. And it's all about OC, or they can follow it here. And then all of our call to actions on these videos are to work with us. This isn't like work with Christian. I don't sell anything, right? I generate leads for our agents. So this is a huge library of resources. And then we have our YouTube, right? Our YouTube channel has almost 1,600 subscribers. We had about 50, 60 a week right now. And look at this, 792 videos. We post 3 videos every single week to this channel. One of them is the core educational here. And then 2 are all about Orange County, which is kind of a blend of this and this. And this is very valuable. This video here is 58 minutes and 22 seconds and has 600 views, posted 5 months ago. This is a 1-hour consultation of me going through our slide deck of our buyer strategy session that we do with buyers. It's free out there. Everybody can watch it. But somebody that watches that comes into our team, this is an incredibly valuable resource. So my point for our agents, if you're watching this in Onyx Homes, do not recreate the wheel. Use our resources. I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and thousands of hours, at least hundreds, into making this, especially if you take my time, our marketing manager, shout out Carly, our media team's hours. If you take all of that, you do not need to recreate the wheel. Having said that, PS, start building your library now. I promise you 5 years from now, you will be glad you did. 3 years from now, I'm really glad that I started making content. So I hope this was valuable. This is where it's end. If you like this video, subscribe to this channel, like this, make sure to comment down below. This is a different style. I don't usually share exactly what I do for my team on this channel, but if you like this, put it in the comments down below and I will see you in the next one.